The state budget adjustment passed by the legislature and signed by Lament early this year set aside $125 million for the rebate program, which offered eligible families $250 for up to 3 children. Around 300,000 families were expected to meet the income requirements, which applied to single filers who made less than $100,000. After a 2-month application window, more than 200,000 families applied. The child tax credit rebate was part of a roughly $600 million in one-time and permanent tax reductions included in the budget. But legislative Republicans have criticized that alignment and the legislature's majority Democrats for not making more substantial cuts. And the child tax credit rebate was a roughly $600 million plan and one-time and permanent tax reductions plan included in the budget. But Republicans have criticized this. And the state will continue to issue the payments by direct deposit whenever possible. The IRS is also sending refunds right now to more than 1 million people. Typically, taxpayers who file returns late with an extension can expect to pay penalties of up to 25% for 2019 and 2020. The agency is suspending penalties for people who file late. Taxpayers who already paid a fine will automatically receive refunds, so that's good. Important announcement from GOP lawmakers on the next social spending bill. This announcement could affect millions of people. A big exciting day is also coming up for Social Security beneficiaries. Bonus payments worth up to $500 may begin to go out to eligible people very soon. And so for most aged Americans, Social Security is imperative to their financial well-being. A survey conducted found that 84% of non-retirees believe Social Security will represent a major or minor source of income during their golden years. Meanwhile, 90% of retired workers are currently leaving their Social Security income to some degree to make ends meet. The easiest way to think of COLA is the adjustment of monthly benefits to account for the rising price of goods and services. Social Security payouts should increase in lockstep to ensure that beneficiaries can still purchase those same goods and services. COLA is the raise passed along to other Social Security's more than 65 million beneficiaries. They aim to true up payouts to match inflation. Prior to 1975, benefit increases were completely random and passed along by special legislative sessions of Congress. But over the past 47 years, the CPIW has acted as Social Security's inflationary tether and dictated whether or not benefits will increase in the upcoming year. But friends, mark your calendar, October 13th, the Social Security's most popular date this year. And according to the Consumer Price Index release schedule, September's inflation data will be announced on October 13th. And since the September CPIW reading is the last puzzle needed to calculate the Social Security's COLA, it means October 13th is when Social Security 65 million plus beneficiaries. The history surrounding Social Security benefit raises is full of disappointments. To begin with, there's a good chance beneficiaries will see most or all of their cost of living adjustment eaten up by inflation in the upcoming year. But President Biden, in his executive order to cancel thousands of dollars in student loan debt for Americans, has divided Democratic candidates, like other policies of his administration.
Let's start with that major reversal we saw on Wall Street. The Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ selling off into the holiday weekend. The Dow swinging 700 points from high to low. And the NASDAQ now down nearly 12% from its August highs. And yeah, it's just September 2nd. Anxiety on the energy front overwhelming a Goldilocks jobs report. Gazprom reporting the Nord Stream pipeline would stay closed until an engine oil leak is repaired. Natural gas prices dropping by 4%. Despite that news, Tim, you pointed to this as a reason for the swing lower. The charts really show that very clear picture and the direction change right around when that news came out.
Yeah, and previous to that news, Court, great to see you. It was news that the U.S. and Europe and at least Western nations were going to put a cap on what they would pay for Russian oil. Russia quickly responds, and make no mistake, Nord Stream is not closed for repairs. Nord Stream is closed for geopolitical, tactical, counter move. And in terms of markets, look, we digested all week where the EU was in terms of not only gas storage levels. Germany's probably at 85%. There's a lot of people that feel across the EU that their storage levels get them through the winter season. But either way, this type of both hostility and the gamesmanship underscores the problems that Europe has and the problems that really the globe has with energy supply right now. By the way, OPEC meeting next week on Monday, while most people will be sitting by the barbecue. So, with great irony, of course, it's energy that was the only thing that was up this week, which is, of course, where Putin gets his lifeblood from. So I just think, the payroll number was important. I would underscore two things. One is that, yes, we had downward revisions, so the labor numbers were not as strong as they could have been. But most importantly was that the this participation rate, almost 800,000 more folks into the job market, bringing up the unemployment rate, and that's actually good news. And the Fed needs more of this. And obviously, targeting labor is something they won't talk about, but it's something that they are.
Grasso, obviously a number of things that we could talk about, but I do want to get your take on what was going on with the news of the Gazprom situation. We know there's an energy crisis already going on in Europe. There does seem to be more worry or more certainty that Europe could go into a recession. Still debate about what happens for us here. So the news that came out today that did certainly change the direction in the market. Is it a worry that will continue beyond the weekend? Or was this just a heightening up of that hostility as Tim is talking about? How much do you need to factor this into your portfolio decisions out of this long weekend going into the fall?
Well, this is going to be an ongoing, headlines, Cord. We've seen these headlines on an ongoing basis, pretty repetitious. So you're going to have to, if you're going to invest, you're going to have to invest around these things. With the market as a whole, these headlines, there are tape reading algos. What do I mean by that? You see that headline go, Tim pointed it out. You saw the market turn pretty close to when that headline was released. The tape goes south. You have tape reading algos that react to it and sell stocks. It's not as a whole, it's not an overwhelming percentage of the overall market, but when you get a market going into a 3-day weekend, it's going to react to that. No different than we had the market react to the jobs number today. Tim did a good job of outlining those data points. It was a not hot, not cold, just right type of event. But we've all talked about this, and you were here last week when we were talking about it with Steve Leisman, who got angry at traders, not us, but traders, for not seeing exactly what the Fed was going to be doing. We're not looking for a pivot. What we're looking for is not even a pause. We're looking for a change of pace from the Fed, and I think this number gave a little bit of hope for a change of pace. I do still think they'll go with 75 because the market gave them 75 and gave them a window to go for it. So with that, I think the market has an ability to move sort of sideways to lower. I think it's definitely a risk-off trade for the next foreseeable, couple of weeks or so.
Courtney, how do you read that jobs report number that we got this morning? Certainly, it feels like most of us agree it was somewhat Goldilocks, but what does it mean for what the Fed may or may not do and how they're reading this latest data point?
Yeah, well, the Fed has said over and over again that the strong labor market is one of the things that has been keeping them from being able to stop their aggressive rate hikes. And so we really need to see that come down here. And I think that's exactly what this report has shown, is that we saw a softening of the labor, and it was softening